how do you find out the best possible way to question a thought? And the reason I'm asking that is because I found, like, doing the work, that there's so many different ways that you can question that thought, that it specifically affects like things like the turnarounds, which are really effective for me. Like, the more turnarounds I see, the better it gets. So when I limit myself to questioning me and there's not like a third person involved, like, there's a limitation in there because there are not that many turnarounds. So I kind of have the feeling like I could have addressed that a little bit better, or questioned it a little bit better, so I could get more out of it and more clarity at the end to see what happened. So how do you question that the right way or the best way possible?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it comes up for all of us as well, because we've all experienced that. Some turnarounds just like blow you wide open, and you're like, "Wow, I'm so glad I chose that one to question and went down that path and turned it around this way." Other ones, they kind of land kind of dead, like, "Oh, sort of, kind of, didn't really go anywhere." And the mind is like, oh my God, I want more of this kind and less of that kind, right? That's totally natural. And with experience, I find I do know which kinds of thoughts tend to be most effective to question, and I kind of tend to favor those. But I also keep in mind, I guess this is also experience, is that I don't worry too much ahead of time about which one I choose, because I think of doing the work like a numbers game. You know, you just have to knock on a lot of doors, and some doors open really wide, some don't open wide. And the problem with trying to figure out the best way is that you can end up starting to think too much about it before you do the work. You can end up trying to reverse engineer the turnarounds so that you can get the good one, that you can get, and then you sort of, when you do it that way, you kind of know where you're going. And so it's less innocent and less surprises. You don't know, you kind of know where you're going, as opposed to that openness of, oh my gosh, I have no clue where I'm going. So that's just kind of to start with. Then how do you deal with that? The thing that I think of when I'm looking for the stressful thought, like the number one thing I'm looking for, is how connected is it to the emotion? So if I'm feeling, stressed about something, and then I really connect with the emotion that I'm feeling, the thought that comes with that, that's the perfect one. That's the perfect one. I don't care if it looks like a weird, it's just a I statement, or just has a boring turnaround, maybe. Who knows where it goes? Like, I don't even think about that. I just think, this is what's bothering me. And so if I can land on that, that is going to be the most powerful way for me to go. Because if it's not connected to the emotion, it can be kind of like an intellectual exercise, right? I found amazing turnaround, but it didn't touch my heart, or the depth of me. So mind and body are connected. The emotions are like on the body level, the mind, the thinking thought is on the thought level, but they're the same thing. And if I'm working with a thought that's connected to an emotion, when I turn that around, it's going to turn that emotion around too. So it's going to change something physically inside of me, not just do the, crossword puzzle kind of intellectual type of exercise. So that's the number one thing. But you know, there's some tried and true things. For example, every one of those lines on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet is a perfect setup for the type of thought that tends to work really well with the work. So, you know, uh, I'm angry with so and so because, and then whatever it is they did. That's a great kind of sentence to work. I want, right? I want them to be different. Those are great statements. They should. Those are great statements. I need them to. Those are great statements. They are, a jerk or whatever. Those kind of statements. And I don't ever want to. Those kind of statements are all, like, they've been time tested. That's why that Judge Your Neighbor worksheet has stood the test of time for so long, because those kind of statements, they tend to lead us back. They tend to be connected to the emotion, and they tend to give good turnarounds as well. Now, if you go off the road of Judge Your Neighbor worksheet and you start doing some one-liners, maybe like you said, self-judgments of some kind, they're not going to have as many turnarounds, and that's fine. That's the way it works. It's just me, myself, and I. So there's not a lot of turnarounds. But what's going to make that one work is coming back to what I said: is how connected to the emotion is it? How real, like how well does the thought I'm writing down describe the feeling that I'm having? And if it describes it, then I go with it. And you know, I've noticed, I used to be a photographer, and I was a wedding photographer, and I noticed the best pictures are when people were not paying attention, or they were just being themselves, or doing whatever. Even the formal pictures, they'd be like all formal, and then I would take these pictures, and then I'd say, okay, thank you, and then I'd keep taking pictures, and they're like already changing positions and relaxing and everything. Those pictures were even better than the formal pictures. So it's the same thing with ourselves. When we say, what's bothering me? I'm stressed. What's bothering me? The first things out of my mouth are like, the mouths of babes, right? It's just the first things out of my mouth. They're so innocent. And those words tend to be exactly what's bothering me. I say it. I literally say it. So when you're by yourself, as those thoughts start to come out, you say, okay, what's bothering me? What's going on? What do I want to work on? Get your pencil ready, because as soon as those thoughts come, those are the ones right off the bat. Those first ones, they're so perfect. They're so innocent. They're so real. And then later you end up finding more intellectual understanding, and it gets complicated and sometimes not as innocent as those first ones. When I have a client on the line, I'll often ask them, what would you like to work on today? And then they just start talking. I am taking notes like crazy. Like I'm just literally typing verbatim the words that are coming out of their mouth, because chances are one of those is going to be perfect for them, to work on. So that's the idea. For one-liners as well, I want and I need. I've heard Byron Katie say, and I've had this experience myself, that you can't have stress without a want, right? So you can't have stress without a want or a need. Same thing, basically. So find the want. What is it? What am I wanting in this situation? That can be a great way of prompting yourself to find what's really bothering you. So those are a few ideas, right? It's a big field here, but those are the most important things that I can think of, so that you are working on something that is connected to yourself and has meaning for you. But don't go too far on trying to get the perfect one, because that's a trap in and of itself. And in the end, it really doesn't matter. I've had clients, really stubborn clients, that don't want to like work with the one-liner I suggest. They choose like something that I would never choose. Like it's like way off. It's like often left field. Almost like I had a client that almost like turned things around and then decided they wanted to work on the turnaround. And that was their statement. I mean, it's like, boom, I would never do that. But, the client is like not open to anything else. So let's see what we can do. You go through it. Oh my gosh. If you have the spirit of the work, who cares if it's the right words or right technical turnaround, any of that? It doesn't actually matter. You can find your way. It's just feeling your way in the dark. You'll feel, oh, this is more brightness, this is more darkness, and you just find your way there. So I've had some amazing sessions with clients like that, and it's totally fine. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because what I noticed now that you mentioned that is that the emotion that I had when I was going through, like, questioning those thoughts what I thought it was heavy or whatever you want to call it, like, you know, like deep and all those things, seems to be going away as soon as I just question, like, I ask, is it true?
Hmm.
And I think that's the reason why I'm not like getting that like with the turnarounds is because it's gone already. Just asking the
Yeah.
first question, like it's gone. It's like the feeling is like, oh wait, no, that's not true. That's
Right.
why. So that's so interesting.
That is so interesting. Yes, I find that too. There are many times, this is how it happens to me in the day, like day-to-day life. Like I say, I'm doing the work formally once a day, but in life, things are coming at me all day long. And what I'm noticing is sometimes my mind will say, "Oh, what's the thought there?" And I just notice the thought. Oh, they're being they're being mean or something. And just noticing like that, and I'm like, I can already see that they're really not being mean. Like I can already see around the edges, and it's enough for it to sort of fall away. It's not a deep, thorough inquiry, but it's enough to let it go. And what more do I need? So, yeah, there's a lot to this. In the end, the formal work, is just a tool. It's a support. But in the end, it's we're learning to go with the flow. We're learning to adjust. We're learning to be okay. We're learning to yeah, be be easy in life. And if you get stuck, you've got like the crowbar and the hammer. That's the work. Like you can really kind of get the hard knots out. But if you don't get stuck, just go around the rocks and enjoy. Yeah. So yeah, we it's it's easy to get caught up in thinking I have to do this, find the perfect one-liner, then that will really help. No, practice taking a crappy one-liner, see where that goes, and see if you can find freedom even with that. Then you don't need that anymore, right? Then you can take any statement. It could be boring, it could be deep, it could be anything along the whole range. And that way it's always new, always exciting, always like I'm always curious. Am I going to learn something? And yeah, so those are my thoughts there on that. It's a very big topic actually, but I think
Yeah.
we've caught the main important concepts here. Yeah.
But that's so interesting. I'm trying to do that thing that you just explained. And the way I did it was like I starting this thread on working on my body. And I'm not like overthinking too much about what's bothering me or whatnot. I'm just like kind of like letting it flow. Or like today I'm not feeling my knees or my head or my and I'm trying to question those and see how it goes, and it goes deeper and deeper, and I'm starting to realize that it's not my body and it's something I can't control at all. And I'm just like putting more pressure into it, like you should function this way, or you should do this, or you should do that. So it's really interesting that way to just let it flow and explore whatever it comes to mind instead of thinking,
Yes.
would this work or not?
That's right. This is the difference between meditation and like analysis. We're not analyzing. We're not trying to understand. We're not trying to break it apart into like really get the understanding of what this mind is doing and all of that. We don't need to. All we need to be free is to let go, right? And so all we have to do is find where I'm holding on. Any place will do. Once I find that, then work it, and then I start to let go a little bit more. And then I'll find another place where I'm still kind of holding and I can feel that and I just take that one. So I can just really go from one to the next without having to come up with a complete plan and survey of everything. It's just yeah, follow. I like saying follow the breadcrumbs. You know, like this one, I work it, then it leads me to the next one, and then the next one, and then life shows me something else, and then leads me. So it makes the job actually really simple. Like there's no master plan. You don't have to study a lot. You don't have to um, figure it out. Really, you just trust. This is what's bothering me. That's the only reason I'm working this, because it's bothering me. That's the only reason I need. Right now, my knee is bothering me, so I'm working my knee. Right now, my money is bothering me. I'm working my money. Right now, my mother-in-law is bothering me. I'm working my mother-in-law. Like, I don't have to do it all. Just the one that's bothering me right now. That's it. It just becomes very simple.
It goes back to the kids, just like my kid. He gets interested in one thing or one movie for 5 minutes and some others just for 5 seconds, and he jumps around from thing to thing. And like you
Yeah,
can see this, he likes this a little bit more, that a little bit more, but he keeps jumping from place to place, never
that's
stands
right.
still, like overthinking, just doing what he feels like. So that's so
That's
cool.
right. That's right. You know, when I was a kid, I went to a Montessori school, which is kind of designed like that, where you have a lot of different projects around the room, but it's like one big room and you can move around as a kid. You can go and focus on that one for a while. And if you get tired of that one, you can go and focus on something else. And the teacher is there to help you, but you're free to like go and try different things. And I still love learning that way. And the work fits right in the same kind of structure. So maybe that's why I like it so much.
That's so cool.
Awesome. All right. So, anything else before we close, or we could just close at this point if you like.
One thing I'd like to say just before I go is that during this whole conversation that I've been listening to, I noticed my mind judging, analyzing, you know, not you guys, but the material that's being said.
Mm-hmm.
And as I look at it, none of it was true. Just my, oh, this, oh, that. So Edwin mentioned something about his son. And Todd, you know about my son because we worked on it. So he says something about his son, and then I go into my son, and then go into all my, like what we talked about yesterday about my son. And just seeing that when I'm listening to people talk or listening to anything, I'm not really listening to them. I mean, I'm hearing it and I'm trying as hard as I can to really listen, but really it's just this one big conversation in my head. And then at the end, I just said, well, is that true? All this stuff. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
So it's really, so thank you for today. I mean, I got like I did a massive amount of work here in the
Yeah,
past 20
right?
minutes. So thank you.
You just worked a
Thank
bunch
you.
of concepts without actually going through the 4 questions. It's like they're just getting undone, 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 undone. Yeah, that's it.
And I love
Love
that
it.
about the work. That's why it's so interesting, like when they're open sessions, because like no matter what people talk about, there's somehow like some relation that I can make into my own life with my family or with my neighbors or whoever it is. I can still feel that connection. So that's really
Yeah,
cool.
same here. Yeah.